You know, it's funny, there was a friend of mine that once shared a great saying with me, and I think somebody famous said this at some point: if you're green, you grow; if you're red, you rot. And I think whenever I started to feel a little bit too comfortable, I felt it was time, to do something, really put myself out there. So I think as an academic, as I was sharing earlier, I felt that there was something missing. Like I loved so much that advisory work, working in Asia with those ministers. That's what got me excited. I mean, I love to do the economic models and, do all those other pieces, but I realized it was that personal interaction and seeing the joy that exec, that leader felt when we could make a difference in their market that motivated me. And I realized, that I wanted to finish my MBA instead of get a PhD. But I wasn't ready to give up, just on the academics. So I remember McKinsey allowed me to join the company in London after business school, but I could take a year off and write a book with a Harvard Business School professor. And they actually paid my salary while I traveled around the world and interviewed all the CEOs in the food industry from farm to table. He was a very famous man in agribusiness named Ray Goldberg, and he was this great mentor of mine. And he gave me this extraordinary opportunity at a young age to go all around the world and interview all these amazing leaders. And that really inspired me that these people were just people. And they welcomed me into their offices because of their connections with Ray, but in many cases I had to go on my own. And here I was, a young woman, especially in places like Asia. That was a real education for me, to need to go into these people, to engage them. But I realized at a CEO level, it's a little lonely when you're at the CEO level, because everyone wants something from you. Everybody's looking to you for that leadership. And it gave me a level of humility and thoughtfulness about what it takes to lead an organization. And for many of these executives, I was kind of the age of their daughter. And so it was a very amazing set of relationships I built, and then stayed at McKinsey. We were in London, we had kids, and we realized that we needed some more help. We either needed to be near his parents in Greece or my family in Chicago for both to carry on with our careers. And so we came to Chicago, and that worked out really wonderfully. And I kept changing the different things I did at McKinsey. Every time I started to feel a little bit too comfortable with the industry I was leading or the clients I was working with, I tried to find a way to broaden my footprint. And at some point, after about 15 years, a series of my clients asked me and encouraged me to come and work for them. And I felt a little bit too close to them to go work for them. But then one day, Phil Purcell, who was running Morgan Stanley, called me and he said, look, I know you're a leader in the retail practice with, some financial services experience, but I need you to come and help me with this company that needs to be turned around. It's called Discover. It's actually not that far from you, and I think you'd really like the CEO. And I want somebody who's different. I want somebody who's not just from this industry, and I want you to reinvent this company and this brand. I worked with David, and I met him and I just said, I don't know why, but I just have to do this. And he gave me this extraordinary opportunity to leave a company like McKinsey and walk into a line management role with 3,000 employees and $50 billion of receivables. And there was just he trusted me. He trusted my judgment, and we had a wonderful partnership. We turned the company around and we took it public. And then at some point I realized I loved the transformational aspect of turning it around and taking it public, but the financial services industry was going through a very rough time. It was then that 2008, 2009, very difficult period. And I could see it would be a long time before I could really get back into that transformation mode again. And I had the opportunity through a bunch of relationships that I had to move to Google, which is a company that's always leaning forward, always at the front end of transformation. And I realized that I'm home, right? Because this is a company that allows me to have the kind of leadership impact, but it be in an environment where you're really trying to change the world. So in some ways, I've kind of come full circle from where I started.